Hey folks, welcome back to Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead. Hope everyone had a happy new year. It's January 5th, 2020, and today's my mom's birthday, so give a shout out to my mom, Norma Jerome, down in the comments, and she'll get a kick out of that. Today, we're gonna make a beekeeping video in January. Can you believe that? So it's nice out. It's 50, 55, 56 degrees. We do have a chilly north wind, but if you get out of the wind in the sunlight, it's really nice out. But what we're gonna do today is get into our two little nuke hives that we're nursing through the winter to see if we can get them through. And I've been watching some beekeeping videos. I've been binge watching, you know, all the time off, and it's been kind of cold outside, and I've been watching folks and learning some new stuff. So you're never too old to learn anything, and you never had too much beekeeping experience to learn something. So get out there and watch other beekeepers and see what they're doing. So I've learned a few things, picked up some things, and one of the things I learned from a beekeeper, and you need to check him out, I really like him. He lives in Georgia. He's a commercial beekeeper, but he really knows his stuff, and his name is Bob Benny. And he talked about equalization of his hives. So I was watching that and come to my senses about nursing this little nuke number one along that's got a bad queen in it. You know, he was going through in the winter and looking at his nukes he was overwintering, and he was doing what he's calling equalizing, making them the same size so they all peak at the same time in the spring. And I'm not doing that. And I was like, and he went into his hive and he found a hive that looked just like my hive number one that's weak. The queen's not doing well. He just grabbed that queen and said, bye-bye, and out she went. And he moved those frames to other hives. And it's like, don't think about a hive. Think about you have a biomass and you need to equalize them. And that resource, the way he had it with that bad queen, was just going to get worse. And that's what I've got here. And I need to just let it go and say, that hive ain't going to make it the way it is. And if it does, it's not going to be any good anyway. They're not going to make a good queen with what they've got. So what I'm going to do is combine hive number one there with the number 5. I'm not sure which one I'll put on which, but when the sun starts setting, I'm going to do a newspaper combine. I got to find that old queen in number 1 and take care of her first and get her out of there. Another thing I want to talk about, I was watching another beekeeper I like to watch in Tennessee. His name's Cayman Reynolds, and I noticed a hive tool he had. So this last year, 2019, most of the time I use this tool right here, but I'd started using this J-hook tool because I'd seen other beekeepers using this, and it's a good way to get your frames out of there. And I've been kind of tearing my frames up on the edge, and I was kind of hard on my boxes too, the way I was digging them out of there. And so I started using this, learned how to use it. But I always cannot find one or the other. I like set it down and it's gone somewhere. So it's like Easter egg hunt every time I'm out here. So I was watching Cayman Reynolds, and he has this tool right here. And it's both. So you just have to keep up with the one. So I want to give him credit for this. So if you want to try one of these out, I have not used it yet, but he uses it all the time and it works good for him. I watched him using it. Go to Cayman Reynolds, YouTube any of his videos, and go down into his Amazon store. And there's a link to this in his store, so he'll get credit if you buy it. And it's not that much. It's like $5, $8, I don't know. It's not that much. And you know, he'll make like 25 cents off of that. So y'all go help Cayman out. He's a real good beekeeper and has a lot of really good information, and he is passionate about Veromites and killing them. So I was watching him earlier in the year, and I did more oxalic acid treatments than I normally have done in the past. So maybe that'll help my hives build up more in the spring. Okay, I'm gonna quit yakking, and we're gonna get in this nuke number 1, locate the queen, dispatch her, and also I want to check on the huge swarm from 2019, because that hive was medium to heavy weight and it has a huge population in there, and I'm concerned about them running out of food. I want to check their sugar. I put like a 3/4 inch of sugar on top of them and see if they've consumed that. If they have, I've got some sugar bricks I can put in there. So that's the 3 hives we're going to check on this January day. Let's get started. Okay, here we are at hive number 1. There is a little bit of activity on the entrance, so the bees in the yard are flying a little bit today. That little wood thing there, that's a coaster for my drink in the summer because I don't want any water rings around my beehives. That's a joke, folks. Okay, we got our smoker lit, and first thing I did was unplug this fence from the battery. So I want to give these bees a little bit of smoke. So I don't want them flying out into this cooler weather. So the wind's out of the north. All the airplanes are flying over. Here's our sugar feeder and a couple of cockroaches. So one thing on hive tools I'm kind of particular about, I like it to have a fairly sharp edge, but not too sharp. If it's too sharp, you can accidentally cut into your frame or your external box. Also, I need to make sure these bees are working on this sugar and have eaten through the newspaper, which they have. So here you can see these bees have eaten through this newspaper, and they're about halfway through that sugar here in the middle. I also saw a hive beetle or 2 in there, I think. So they're working on that. So let's check out this hive tool and see how it works. I noticed the hook is a little longer than this other one. Seems to work okay. This time of year, you know, getting in your hives when this propolis is cold. So one thing I liked about this tool was you lift it out, you just hang on to it with the tool like that. Well, there's some hive beetles in here going. I need to put a beetle trap in here. Okay, remember what we're doing here. We're looking for the queen. Population doesn't look too bad. So if I find her, I'm going to put her in this clip, and I'm going to save her and put her into a little dropper with some alcohol and make a swarm lure with her. Fairly tight cluster here. Got some good honey store there. If I don't spot her, I'm just going to combine them anyway. So this hive started out 2019 as a strong 10 frame double deep. Here she is right here. Yeah, I've got her. She's marked red. So let's get this back together. I've seen all I need to see. There's no need to go through any more frames. So the only thing I need to do now over on this hive number 5 is just check their sugar. Make sure they've got through it like they did on this one. Make sure they're not starving. So here's our queen. A few attendants in there with her. So there's our queen and a few attendants. Wow, look at her. She's about to slip out of that. Get back in there. She's a skinny queen. She's about to slip out of that. Okay. Okay, here's hive number 5. See, it's got more activity on it right now than number 1 did. For one, it's got, I think it has more population of bees in it. And it has a first-year queen that's doing a lot better. So let's just get in here and check their sugar. So I don't need to smoke this one. I'll smoke it from the top, just a little. Oh yeah, look, they've already gone through it. So both of these nukes didn't have hardly any honey in them. That one over there had like that one frame that you saw. This one I think has one about like it. Let's take a quick look at this. I'm gonna give them a little bit of smoke. So they've ate mostly through the front or the back in that spot right there. So they're good to go for now. There's not quite enough space there. My bricks are about this wide by that long. So I'm not even going to go in here. No need to. I've seen what I need to see. So I think what I'm going to do is, since the least amount of foragers are foraging from hive number 1, it's not as active as this one. I'm going to put hive number 1 on top of here. I'm going to do my newspaper combine right here. And I'll move that feeder up to the top. I could leave it in between them, but I want these two hives to mix and become one stronger one. And then later on in the spring, when it starts getting a little warmer, or even in the winter on a nice day, I could put them into a 10 frame deep, move the 5 frames from the top down and put them side by side. So let's go check on huge swarm. Okay, here's huge swarm hive number 27. It's got some pretty good activity going on. That hive 28 next to it is empty. That was a failed cutout I had that absconded. Let's get in here, see what we find. So again, the reason we're going into this hive at all is because when I did my weight check, I went around, grabbed all my hives and just lifted them by hand. It should feel like you're lifting about 40, 50 pounds on one side. This one weighed maybe, it felt like a 30, 35 pound lift. But this hive was packed with bees. There's some honey in there, but with that much population, I'm concerned about them starving out. And looks like my concerns were valid from what I see right now. Yeah, they're pissed. They're already smacking me in the head. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See that sugar ends right there, and there's none up in there. That was a full layer of sugar. So let's get this lid off and see what we got. So likely we'll go up and get some sugar bricks and supplement them. Yeah, so we're out here in the open. This north wind's coming right across here, and these bees aren't going to like this cold wind hitting them. And they're pretty defensive already because they don't have a lot of food. The cupboards are getting bare and they're getting grumpy. So they might come after me here. Yeah, so see how much they've consumed. I'm not going to pull this off, but you can see this is hollow way up underneath here. So I got enough room, I can put a sugar brick right here. So I'll go up there and get one real quick. Yeah, they're mad. I'm gonna put this back on here to keep their heat in while I run up and get one of those. That'll block a little wind too. Okay, we made it back. Went ahead and brought two just in case I could fit two in there. But you can see how these are. They're about almost an inch thick, a little over an inch in some places. But this is a solid block of sugar. When you hit them, they make kind of a clinking sound. That's the way I make these is I put about 15 pounds of sugar in a 5-gallon bucket, and I just pour a little bit of water in there, and I stir it with a paint stirrer and a drill to get it mixed up real good. And you should be able to reach in there with your hand and squeeze it, and it'll pack kind of like a snowball. When you get it to that consistency, that's it. And then you just spread it out into a like a brownie sheet. It's what this was in. And I just take a knife and just kind of wiggle it and make little divisions. And it dries hard like this. So it's just like a sugar cube you'd put in coffee. It's that hard. And they're real easy to work with. And that's also the same way I fill these feeders, with that same type of mixture. And you can add Honey Be Healthy and Pro Health to this too. And I do add just a little bit of that. It keeps this from molding, and it also stimulates them to feed on it a little bit. But you got to be careful in the fall if you're doing that. That stimulant will stimulate a robbing situation, so be careful with that stuff. In the winter, it's not such a big deal. So let's see, I know one of these will fit. Let's see if we can get two of them in there. So if I was to leave this hive just the way I left it and come back like late February, this would have all been gone and these bees would likely be starved. So I'm going to break this way I can get it in there. Yeah. And this is hardware cloth underneath here. It's 1/4 inch. It's not 1/8 inch. You want the bees to be able to pass through it to get to that sugar. So here's what it looks like. Like I said, this is hollow way back up in here where they've hollowed it out. So as they work on this throughout the year, I'll just keep putting more chunks in here to get them through to spring. I'm going to put some weight on this because I broke their seal, and when it's cold like this, if we got a big wind, it might blow that lid off of there because the propolis won't bind back like it was. Yeah, so how about that? We shot us a beekeeping video in January. I don't think I've done that before. It's a first for me. So stick around for what we got going on in 2020. And my plan this year is to sell a few nukes. And over at our new house, we picked up a bunch of scrap lumber, and I'm making 10 nukes out of that. I'm going to put them right over here is the plan. Don't know what the bees' plans are, but that's my plan. And it's going to be our first year to sell some nukes. Be sure to get over to Cayman Rentals and check out one of his videos and go find his link to this Hive tool. I use it here just a little bit and I like it. So I'm just going to have to keep up with one of these now instead of 2 different tools. But I'll have those other ones laying around here too. But that's it for this video. Give it a thumbs up if you would, and be sure to subscribe before you leave. And we'll catch you later on in the year. Y'all take care.